Hey guys, welcome to the week of June the 1st. Looks like this may be our last week of quarantine, per se, as far as football quarantine. So Coach Slate and I wanted to put together yet another video for you um, to help get you acquainted with stuff that we'll be doing on the defense. And I'm sure we'll be doing offensive videos during the summer. So it's great that you can constantly go back to, what am I supposed to be doing um, as a D lineman or as a linebacker, as a DB or as an O lineman. This is not meant to be brutal or to be mean or to give you a grade or whatever. It's to help you know your stuff. And the better you know your stuff, the better you perform, right? The more we win, right? It's all connected. All right. So I got a lot to share with you. A lot of it is redundant, right? Redundant is the word for the day. Right? Trey Sinek knows what redundant means. He was in leadership class, so was Josh Arbino. Redundant means repetitive. I'll say it more than once, which is great learning, right? One of the keys to our defense is confusing the offense, lining up in different alignments, different fronts, and then moving and stunning. And you don't have to be a big defensive lineman, but you definitely need to know what you're doing, and you have to have mindset and some hustle. All right? So we will be repeating these blitzes because they're going to be done out of more than one front. All right? So I won't spend a lot of time, obviously, on repeating them. We're going over them more than once if we've already done it. All right, so let's start right now. 31. All right, so there we are in 31. 31 means that the stud is in a 5 strong, the tackle is in a 3 technique strong, the nose is in a 1 technique weak, and the end is in a 5 technique weak. 31 from. When we call a 31 Mike, all of that is doing is telling the Mike that he is blitzing his gap. And he is lined up, right, in the front side A gap, strong side A gap. So Mike will come up, blitz. What does that mean for you and me? As a stud, as a tackle, as a nose, as an end, we are blitzing our gap. We are not reading the blocks of the offensive lineman. We are attacking our gap. Okay? Now, that still means you have to be able to read your guy. For example, as a stud, I have the arrow drawn that you're attacking the front side C gap, right? This is A gap between the center and the guard. This is B gap between the guard and the tackle. And C gap is the gap between the tackle and the tight end. There is no tight end, or just that outside gap, right? If there was a tight end, right, outside the tight end would be the D gap. So we're attacking our gap that we're lined up in. But if the offensive lineman, steps down and blocks down on the tackle, and I run upfield, coach, I rush my gap. I attack my gap. Well, yes, but you ran out of the way so far up the field that you're not a part of the play. You're not a part of the solution. You can't just run upfield. You're attacking your gap, but you're still controlling your gap. How about that word? Redundant, controlling your gap. So when you gap charge, you control your gap. So when the gap of the tackle blocks down, my gap has just gotten wider because that tackle blocked down. I got to squeeze on my gap charge, and I got to be able to go up and squeeze down. I'm still responsible for my gap, right? So if I'm attacking the B gap and the tackle blocks down on me, I can't just get blocked. I got to be able to get skinny, rip the gap. If the center blocks away as a nose tackle, I have to be able to squeeze on it, right? So we're going to get plenty of reps practicing gap charge versus blocks. All right, we've done a video on D-line technique where we're talked about gap charge. All right, you're going to be stepping with your inside foot of the gap that you're charging. You're going to be dipping and ripping, grabbing the grass to get through the gap. You're going to get to the heels. The arrows mean you get to the heels, and then you find the football. You redirect and find the football. Right? So this video isn't going over the actual technique. It's what are the blitzes that we have and where do we go in those blitzes. Excuse me. Same thing with the end on the backside. If this tackle blocks down, then I'm just not running upfield. I'm going to go ahead and squeeze because that gap just has gotten bigger. All right? 31 Mike. We line up in 31. We blitz our gap. 31 Bob. All right? Again, we line up in 31. Studs in a 5, tackles in a 3, nose is in a 1, 5 is in a, end is in a 5. Bob is blitzing his gap. His gap is the weak side A. His gap, let me say that again. Bob's gap is the weak side B. So he's blitzing his B gap. We do the same thing as we did on 31 Mike. We lined up in 31. We blitz our gap. All right. 31 Mike and 31 Bob, obviously speaking more to the linebackers as far as who is blitzing. But obviously, we as D linemen need to know that we are gap charging. Okay. 31 Mike, 31 Bob. Don't know why that keeps on coming up. 31 Bobby. Now, Bobby is a gap exchange. What do we mean by gap exchange? A gap exchange is the Bob is responsible for the B gap. He just blitzed a 31 Bob. But in a 31 Bobby, he is not going to blitz his B gap, the gap that he's aligned in. He's going to blitz off the edge. All right? Bobby. Why did Coach Slade call it Bobby? I don't know, maybe end. But we need to know in a 31 Bobby, that means that the end, maybe Bob E, end, that we're coming inside. Like an evil. Bobby means evil for the defensive line, for the end. But again, no, 31 Bobby means that all of us are blitzing our gap. We line up in 31, stud blitzes gap, tackle blitzes his gap, nose blitzes his gap, and blitzes the inside B gap now, and the Bob blitzes the end gap coming off the edge. 31 Bob. Okay? 31 Moose. You're going to get a lot of bulls and mooses. Love bulls and mooses. Love them, love them, love them. Again, this is going to be a gap exchange, meaning the Mike is not blitzing his gap. He's going to blitz in the noses gap. Yeah, the Mike, instead of, it looks like he's coming towards the front side A gap, but then he goes ahead and blitzes backside A gap, which is where the nose blitzed in 31 Mike. So what do? Again, we have to gap exchange between the Mike and the nose. So now the Mike blitzes weak side A, and the nose blitzes front side A, right across the face of the center, which we've done in some of our stunts, like Slice and Alice. Now, stud, tackle, nose, you guys are still gap charging your gap. Stud, you're blitzing. Tackle, you're blitzing the front side B gap. And you're blitzing backside C gap. Nose, now you're front side A instead of backside A, which you were doing in 31. Right? Make sense to you guys? I hope so. This is not rocket science. This should not be that difficult. 31 whip. 31 whip. Soon as we hear whip or Bob or Mike, we know we are pinning our ears back and we're going. We're going, we're going, we're going, we're going. It's just where. Are we going through our gap, which happens most of the time, or will we have to gap exchange? Whip is going to be just like Bobby because the whip is going to come up. He may be in hokey where he's lined up right here, or coach may bring him, but he's still coming off the edge. Whip is coming off the edge. When you hear whip, you're thinking Bobby. So stud, you blitz your gap. 31, tackle, you blitz your gap. Nose, you blitz your gap. And just like Bobby, now you have to rip inside. Right? Hopefully, whip will be saying evil, evil, evil to help you. He may not. All right? So remember technique. You're going to power step with your left foot. A power step is a short lateral step sideways. And then you're going to cross over with your right foot. Cross over with your right foot. As you cross over, you are turning your shoulders. You're turning your shoulders. You're taking your right hand and you're ripping to protect your body. And you're grabbing grass to make sure that you get low. That you're below the pad level of the offensive lineman if he tries to block you. By the same token, as we know with ends and studs, if this guy beats you across the face, that's okay. You just go ahead and squeeze right off his rear end. Not a problem. We don't want you to get in front of him and then he bashes the mess out of you and we lose you. All right? That's 31 whip. 31 whip switch we did last year. We did rover switches last year and we did whip switches last year. All right, so we're doing a whip switch right now. Lined up in 31, boom, boom, studs in a 5, tackles in a 3, noses in a weak side 1, ends in a backside 5. We're gap charging our gaps and a whip switch. Now the end runs upfield like he's normally doing, and then the whip is ripping under. Right? So a 31 whip switch is like a 31 bob. I would say that you're probably working to get a bit more upfield and out. You don't have to worry about squeezing on switches. On switches, just go. Right? Just go ahead and run upfield because we still have a bob in here. I don't want you squeezing on any switches. All our switches, go. When we're doing a rover switch on the strong side, go. We're going. All right. Those are our blitzes or our 5-man games out of 31. Out of 22, right, we're going to go ahead and bring 6 guys. So when we bring 6 guys, we can't call it a Mike Bob. Coach instead come up with 2 words, mob and boom. All right? So when we're in 22, we're expecting movement because we know that we move when we're in a 22 front. Studs in a 5, tackles head up in a 2, nose, head up in a 2, stud in a 5. 22 mob means the Mike and the Bob are blitzing their gaps, A-gaps, which means tackle and nose, we're blitzing through the B-gaps. We're gap charging through the B-gaps. It says stud and stud. Excuse me, that should say stud and end, right? I apologize, let me change that. All right. I was able to show you my technology skill. All right, so that's 22 mob. Stud, you run upfield, attack your gap, attack your gap end. All right, so in a 22 Boom, stud and end, you're the same. You're still attacking, outside shoulder, working upfield, again, being able to squeeze if it's a down block. But this time the tackle and the nose are going A gap. Boom means A gap for you guys. Mike and Bob are going through the B gap, right? And that's the only thing we're going to do out of 22. See, that's all we're doing out of 22. So if you line up on 13, right, we know 13 front is that the stud is in the 5. Now the tackle's in the 1, the nose is in the 3, and the end's in the 5, right? We're in a 13 front, but now the Mike is still running his blitz, right? So a 13 Mike means we line up in a 13 and we gap charge the gap that we're lined up in. It's as simple as that, right? So you have 13 Mike, you have 13 Mikey, Mike coming off the edge, so the stud's got to come inside, right? It becomes just like an evil call for the end. It becomes a stab call for the stud. Everybody else is gap charging, right? 13 bull, right? We did 31 moose, so 13 bull is the opposite, right? Mike and nose exchange gaps. Now in a 13 bull, the bob and the tackle are going to exchange gaps. All right? You can imagine that in a 13 bob, the bob will go through the strong side A, the tackle goes through the weak side A. But in a 13 bull, the tackle is going to loop into the strong side A, and the bob is going to loop in the backside A. Why do we run that stunt? It's a great way to mess up offensive line. Bull and moose will be some of our favorite stunts, blitzes. They're a blast because lots of times guys come wide open for big plays, tackles. All right. 13 rover is just like whip, right? You got a whip that's coming off the edge. Now we're running the rover. So, and you're rushing your gap. Nose, you're rushing your gap. Tackle, you're rushing your gap. But now the stud's got to do like he did in Mikey. Rover and Mikey are the same thing for the stud. Rip inside. Rover comes off the edge. Stab call. Okay. Rover switch, just like whip switch. Don't have to worry about anything but getting upfield. Rover will come underneath. Again, that means the rest of us are still gap charging. Anytime you hear linebacker names, everybody's gap charging. So end, you're ripping and getting through your gap. Nose, you're ripping and getting through your gap. Tackle, you're ripping and getting through your gap. Penetrate, right? Get skinny, grab grass, get to the heels off the offensive lineman, cause mayhem and destruction. Right? We're warriors. Get it done. 13 Bob, that's going to be a gap exchange. All right. And I might have screwed that up. I got to talk to Coach Slade about 13 Bob because I think you're just rushing through your regular gap and Bob is going through a gap. I think I misdrew this. Let's go ahead and change that right now. That's fine. We do it. Don't know how to do it. Oh, well. We'll talk about Bob. I think nose is still attacking his gap that he's lined up. All right. We had the different fronts. Here's 41 Mike, where we run the Mike out of 41, right? 41 Bob. Let me move my picture down a little bit so I stop having to move it. 41 Bobby, right? You get the point. Bob comes off the edge. 41 Moose. Right? These are all the same things as we did out of 31. 41 Whip. 41 whip switch, 40 bull, right? I'm not going to just keep on going through them just for the fun of it. All right. Where can you find this? All right. If I go to back to install, this is Willertz Additions Part 2. As a D lineman, man, this is key. Willertz Additions. That's going to be your stunts. Willertz Additions Part 2 are your blitzes. These you got to know like the back of your hand. Willertz Additions Part 2. All right, and we know defense alignment techniques is your alignment system. All right. Again, this is just kind of an intro. All right, I've been talking for 20 minutes. I don't want to belabor the point. I think you understand. If you're unsure of where you go, you talk to me, you check huddle, right? Check huddle, and this is going to help you out a ton, right? Again, we're not going to try to do more than you can handle, but by the same token, our defense's, theme or strength is about moving and being able to line up and get across the ball and cause mayhem and destruction. So you got to be able to know this, guys. You have to be able to know these types of things for us to be successful this year. All right. Good luck on your quiz. Watch this as many times as you can. That will help you. And again, I'm here to help. Let's have a great season. Let's be warriors, right? Get it done.